Hello again. I am just firing out these videos like it's my job. Oh, it is my job. Listen, I cracked myself up. So, 2-7, operations with decimals. Remember, decimals are still, catching myself there. Most decimals are still rational numbers. The only decimals that aren't rational are those never ending and non repeating. So let's take a little quick ski note and talk about that with purple. So rational decimals are repeating decimals. Or they can be decimals that end. For example, like 1.2. That's an ending decimal. It's not going on forever, so that is a rational decimal. A repeating decimal, something like 0.3 repeating, that is a repeating decimal, so that is also rational. It is irrational or not rational if it is never ending and non-repeating, the opposite of these two things. Okay. So when you're looking at these decimals, you're still using those integer rules. You're still adding the opposite. You're still getting a negative when you multiply a negative times a positive or a positive times a negative. Those things are all still real life here. So when you're adding and subtracting decimals, again, you could just be putting these in your calculator or at least just checking yourself with the calculator afterwards. But when you're adding and subtracting decimals, you want to, I'm going to zoom in on this. You want to line up the decimal points. And then just carry it down. At the end. So you line those decimal points up, and then you math as normal, and then just carry down that decimal point wherever it was at the end. So let's take a look at this example 1 here. I can see right away that this is a subtraction problem, which means I can add the opposite. So my first thing I'm going to start by doing is adding the opposite. So I keep that first number the same, change that subtraction to addition. And again, notice guys, I'm still continuing to draw that arrow from it, so I'm not messing this up. And a negative, the opposite of a negative 6/7 is just a positive. Or sorry, 6 and 6.7, which call it there. Okay, so now really, I'm just adding those two as normal. So line up the decimal points. Let's go back to purple. 4.3, 6.7, add as normal, 7, 8, 9, 10. 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 1 is 11, and then just carry down that decimal point. So my final answer here is 11. And again, if you're putting that in the calculator, you're just making sure that you're using that negative. So 4.3 minus 6.7, boom, getting that 11. The calculator on the computer is a little bit more complicated than the one that, the TI one that you guys should be using. So make sure you're using that one because that's the one. I guess it really doesn't matter which calculator you're going to use. So just make sure you're asking me questions if you're not sure how to work the computer one. Until example 2.